Well, Murray, enjoyed the sermon today. I have a few questions for you that I would love to hear your thoughts on. But before that, if you wouldn't mind just providing maybe a quick summary of today's message.
Yeah, today's message is from Luke chapter 9, verses 43 through 50. And essentially what that says is we try to make the gospel story about ourselves, God's kingdom work about ourselves. But Jesus says the gospel is good news precisely because it's not about us, but because it's about what he's done. And that means for us remembering the mission and repenting of glory grabbing. And he uses various stories in here to teach us that.
Yeah, remembering the mission is really important. So first question I have for you is kind of with our us culture, how might we use the assets of our culture, like the Netflix example you gave, like the Starbucks example you gave, or even our smartphones, to help us remember the mission?
Well, I think part of the answer is thinking that those things, Starbucks, Netflix, smartphones, our vehicles, our homes, whatever they are, aren't evil things. They're good gifts from the Lord. The Lord rules over all those things. And so I think it's about perspective. I think it's about us remembering that those things are things for us to enjoy in certain ways, but also not make them the ultimate things. When we make Netflix or smartphones, or those are silly examples, but when we make our identity, focus our identity on certain things like how much money we make, or how much power we have at work, or how many relationships we can develop, and we curate that through an us-centered culture, then we idolize ourselves. Yep. And Jesus says, the gospel's about me, it's not about you.
And I think too, in a lot of ways, all of those assets set us up for kind of the menial task that you were talking about that we often want to avoid. So the next question would be, what are ways God might use us in serving through those kind of menial tasks?
Oh, that's great. Those small tasks that nobody wants to do. In fact, it's during pandemics and centuries ago that the church most stands out through serving others, through serving the widow or the orphan or the poor, through really practical ways like getting people groceries who are vulnerable, cutting their grass, asking what needs people have, in making the gospel visible by doing acts of love and mercy and service, is one of the number one ways that we as Christians can demonstrate that our fear is based in God alone and not in a pandemic or in or even in doing things that the culture might say are below us.
Yep. Yeah, I think serving those tasks that sometimes society says is below us is another reason of helping us avoid a life of glory grabbing, which was a big point you made towards the end. And so another question I have for you is, why is the gospel really the only way to prevent us from living a life of glory grabbing?
I think the answer is because the gospel is the only story that tells us that life is not about what we can do to please God, but what he's done on our behalf. For example, every other religion says you have to do good in order for that religion's God to accept you. Our Christian faith, the gospel story, is good news precisely because it's based not on our good works, but on Christ's good works. And it's literally the only story that tells us, hey, it's good news that life isn't about you, because it doesn't all depend on you. It depends on what Christ has done on your behalf.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, we want to thank you for, if you were here supporting or listening this morning in person or online, thank you for your continual support of Cabo Park. And as always, we are thankful for the ways in which God uses Murray on Sundays to speak his truth. Thank you.